All right, everybody, welcome to the witching hour. As you can see on the widget, is indeed the witching hour. All right, yes. Today we're going to do a little bit of an experiment because that's what the witching hour is all about. And some of these live streams I'm going to be doing. I'm Don Franco 3. This is RPG Boons. And today we're going to try a dungeon crawl in vivo. That means live right now as it's happening. Now it's exploration, may suck. I'm gonna post it anyways, but we're gonna give it a shot. I wanted to look at a a zine called Rune. It can be found in Drive-Thru RPG. This is Rune number 1. And we're just gonna do what I liked about it is, they have a lot of tips in there for Shadowdark, but a lot of those tips for Shadowdark are actually applicable to any old school style OSR game. And I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna just take one of the dungeons that they show in this zine, and we're gonna do a crawl through it. It's gonna be a little railroady because we have no choice, but we're basically a character in search of treasure and glory. And so what we're gonna do is we've heard of a hidden tomb in the forest, and we just have to go out there and look for it. So we decide to do that. We find indeed the entrance to the tomb, and we're able to sneak in. So what we're looking at here is the staircase to get into the tomb. Okay, now how are you gonna play if you're on your phone right now and you're listening to this? Well, I just checked it moments ago. I just had this crazy idea. This is what the witching hour does to you. Okay, I had a crazy idea, and I'm like, you know what, if I can find a quick map and maybe we can do an in vivo crawl. So that's what I decided to do. And so what I did is, I know there's a website called fastcharacter.com. I have it here in my browser as well, which in case if you're on a laptop, you can go to, it's called fastcharacter.com. Create a D&D BX character, okay? Because this is similar or equivalent to, not exactly, to a Shadowdark character, okay? Now, I forget what the Shadowdark website is, but I found it, the Shadowdark character generator, I found it a little difficult to create a decent character on that. At least, maybe, I don't know if it's the version that I have or whatever. So I just think if you go to this fastcharacter.com, you'll be able to essentially build your character within moments. And so let me just pull that over so you can see what it looks like. If you're on a mobile phone, you can do the exact same thing. Okay, so I just checked with my phone over here, and so you can see this here. If I pick the D&D BX, and then it goes down here, it tells you what do you want to do. I'm going to choose an elf race. Then I'm going to choose level 2s. And then you just literally hit click to create a character. Now you're going to have hit points, you're going to have statistics. And again, this is very old school, so we're just going to use these types of statistics to play the game. Let me see. I'm not sure if it'll show up on the camera here, but I do have it here as well, just to show you that I was able to do the exact same thing on my phone. So you could do it on your phone if you want. So let me see, does it show up? It's kind of a weird angle for me, but let's see. Can you see that? Yeah, you can kind of see that. So you can see I basically went to this website, picked a level 2, whatever character you want. You're in search of a treasure. You got hit points. And here's the key. Even if you don't have the character generator, you can't get to it, you're not really sure how to deal with it, go ahead and give yourself 10 hit points. And then we're just gonna, as these things happen while we crawl this, I'm gonna apply a roll to it. If you're playing with the BX character, you roll a d20. If you're just following along, you're going to flip a coin. Okay, you're gonna have 10 hit points. Otherwise, that BX character, whatever it creates, give yourself 10 hit points, and we're gonna play it that way. Then I'm just gonna apply damage to you. So we've headed into the forest. we heard a treasure there, and we're in need of power. We want to become more bolder, more stronger. We actually maybe even want to retire on a farm. It doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to start crawling this. So I have this zoomed into this PDF that I got from the runes. Again, it's on DriveThruRPG. Before we get started, let me just pull it up. So it's from the Tabletop Engineer. These magazines are called they're called runes, and they're zines, which is an old school name for magazines. And let me pull this one here real quick. Just give me a second. I apologize. Let me just show you. I guess one is better than none, right? So I'm just going to show you this. Website here. This is DriveThruRPG. We're not using this exact rune here, but I did pull it up earlier because my 2-point action system got published in this, which I think is really awesome. But we're going to be looking at rune number 1. One of the pages within has a tome essentially, and so we're going to crawl that real quick. All right, so you've gotten to went through the forest, you found an entrance, you move some bushes out of the way, and you start crawling downward. Just wanted to make sure my mic was on. So as you get down there, you find these stairs. Everything's old. It stinks really bad, really moldy, really dirty. And you begin to head down the corridor, down the stairs, down a very short corridor. Keep in mind, what we're doing right now, I'm going to give us the benefit of the doubt as we're reasonably intelligent. So as we got down here, we noticed it was super dark. We lit a torch. So if you're shadow darking, maybe this is a point where you can count how long the torch is going to take, or how long it's going to stay lit, which is also a rule I believe in D&D 1E. So we get in there, we're crawling, we're getting through these. We end up seeing an opening of a room. You can see what the walls are. They're essentially at 45-degree angles. And as we look in this room, we can see there's a pathway going to the left and going to the right. Now, the direction that we choose is irrelevant. Now, because we're doing this in vivo and it's kind of a little railroady, we're gonna pick any room to go down, okay? But you take a look around, you see nothing weird going on, and we randomly decide to go to the right to see, oh, we're looking around and you notice that there's 3 different doors, one on the left, one on the right, one on the front. We go to the front door just because we wanted to move forward. If you want progress, you got to move forward, right? We go here and we notice that this door has no locking mechanism, no door handle, nothing like that. So we search the wall. No need to make a roll at this point, because even if you search, I would tell you you don't need to make a roll. Just go ahead and look at the wall. You search the wall and you see no door handle, you see no mechanism to open the door, but clearly it looks like it could be moved. Just you can see it's not directly hard, very attached to those walls. So you decide to go back out and say, okay, well, maybe there's an opening mechanism inside this tome somewhere. So we're going to go to the right here. And as we get up closer to the door here, this one over here, when we start looking down the hall, we see that this one does have some type of opening mechanism as we look at the door entrance. So we get there, and we can see, it's obviously not visible here, but we can see that there's some type of opening mechanism there. Now, what you want to do right now is you just want to see if you can pick it, okay? So I need you to make some type of dexterity roll. Everything's going to be 50-50, okay? And here's the thing. If you can't open this door, then you failed this door and you can no longer go through this door. Now, I mentioned to you there's another door on the other side. So you can travel to the other side, do another dexterity roll, thieving tools roll, but it has to be a 50-50, unfortunately. We can't really play with bonuses. Can we? Okay, I'll tell you what. If you chose a thief, you can add your dexterity modifier, okay? So go ahead and do a dexterity roll, thieving roll, some type of thieving tools roll, and see if you can open this door. It's a DC of 10 or a 50-50 chance, and add your applied bonus. If you have a coin, unfortunately, you just have to flip it and see if it's heads or tail. Pick heads or tail, try. Okay, so go ahead and flip it, roll. You succeed or you don't. If you don't succeed, go to the other side, because we want you to be able to crawl through this, right? So I could be kind of a jerk and just say, hey, if you don't get through this door, the other door doesn't open. You can't open the doors. Adventure's over. So that's one way you can play, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to give you 2 chances. Try to open this door. If this doesn't work, try to open the other door. Now, once you open the door on either side, you go into the room, okay? And we're just going to assume the other room is identical to this one. And if you open this one, the other door is unopenable, okay? And as you go in, you're dungeon crawling. So you open the door, but you're gonna do a perception check, okay? You're gonna do a notice check. So use your wisdom roll, apply your bonuses, look around to see if you see anything suspicious. Because as you look in and you put the torch in, you do see essentially a, what do they call it? I guess it's just a tome. Is it a tome? It's a, what is the thing? The sarcophagus? Not the sarcophagus. It is, I think it is a sarcophagus. But basically you see a sarcophagus and you can't really see anything else. So you look around. Now, if you make a successful perception check, you do notice a wire at the base between the sarcophagus and the wall here. So you enter the room. If you look to the, let's see, you look down here, you do see a string at the bottom area here attaching the wall to the sarcophagus. If you didn't see it, then you sprung a trap, okay? And you're gonna take 1/10 of your damage. So if you have 10 hit points, you take 1 hit point, but you take the damage right here. Okay, but if you did see it, you're able to go around to the other side and avoid the string. And as you're searching this sarcophagus, I think I'm saying that correctly. You're looking around, you're doing another check. Okay, I want you to make another perception check, DC 10. Again, we're making it easy. Apply your bonuses. And if you succeed, you are able to find a or maybe making an investigation check, an intelligence check, okay? You find an opening mechanism. You find a lever, you crank it, tink, 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 tink. And from the distance, you hear what appears to be stone grinding. And at that moment, you realize that you have opened the door in the middle, okay? Now, if you failed this roll, again, if this is the first time you got in here, if you got in here on the first try, maybe you don't find nothing here, you got to go to the other side. The other side also has another trap, so go ahead and roll for that trap, then roll for perception first, then roll your investigation check or intelligence check on the other side. See if you can find the opening mechanism. Because remember, we just want to move the story forward. So in either case, we want to move forward. If you fail everything, if you're having a bad day, at least in terms of finding the unlocking mechanism, then you literally cannot go anywhere and you have to exit the tome. So now that we've opened the middle door, we're heading back out of the room. So let's go and do that. Get back into the center room. We're walking through. It smells really bad, really musky. And in fact, it smells a little bit, a hint of death. It's been a long time. These people have been dead a long time. You get to this door, and when you're approaching, you see that the door is indeed open. So you go through the door. You're slowly moving through, right? You're constantly doing perception checks. You're looking for things. You're looking for, uneven floors, stuff like that. Now you get to a fork here and you're gonna either go left or right. In our case, we're gonna go left. Now, the cool thing about this map is it's almost identical on both sides, but we're gonna decide to go left here. And as we continue to go left, we're taking our time. We're crawling. Excusez-moi. When we get to the end of the hall, we see that it turns over. We're peeking over to the side. Now it's completely pitch black except for what your torch is emitting. So just, it's just dead except for what your torch is emitting. There's no other light inside this cave. And occasionally you're howling wind. Now that's suggestive that there's more to this home than what you're seeing. Maybe there's depth to this tome. As you continue to crawl, I need you to make a perception check. Again, 50-50, DC 10, flip a coin. And if you get it correct, then you're able to see that on the floor, there's these uneven tiles on the floor. And you decide that that is a trap mechanism. And so you avoid them. So what you do is you stay in the inner wall here. It's probably hard to see my little arrow, but you stay towards the inner wall here. And you're able to bypass this trap essentially. Okay. Now, you look over here, there is another door. But this one appears to be slightly cracked open. Okay, so the stone wall itself has been broken into and it's offset. And so you're able to crawl through this. Okay, no roll necessary. And as you walk in, again, you see another sarcophagus. Now on these sarcophagus, there's a language there. There was one language in the other one, but you just can't read the language. It's an ancient language. There's really no way of reading this or deciphering this. Now, when you're in this room, you notice that at the very far end of the room, there's something on the floor. And the closer you approach, you notice that it's skeletal remains. And as you get there, again, you see it right there. I need you to make an investigation check. Okay, so you make an investigation check, DC 10, and you're digging through there. You're trying to find what might be there. Now, this is going to be, we have to make it a DC 10 check. Make an intelligence check. You only get one roll. If you're unable to succeed here, you do not find a gold key. Okay, you just don't find anything. Now, again, if you didn't find the key, at this point, you go to the other side, you find a room. Actually, you go up down the hall, you find a room that has a key mechanism. You can see that there's literally a lock there that a key would fit in. But if you didn't get the key, your adventure ends. You can walk around the hall. There's another trap on the other side that you can roll for, identical to this one. This is what I really like about this map. So you can make another dexterity check or perception check and see if you can get past it or not. But your adventure ends. But let's just assume you got the key. So you got a key, you found a gold key, very intricate, has some weird writings on it. Again, stuff you really don't understand. Now I could take you all the way to the other side where I told you there is another room. It's very similar to this one, except that one doesn't have the skeleton. And by the way, if you're making these perception checks for the traps and you're not seeing them, then you walk into the trap and you take the damage. Okay, so again, it's 1/10 of your hit points, or 1 hit point if you have 10 hit points. So you get to the middle of the hall and you look up, and this is where you see the stone door that has a lock on it, or a keyhole. So you insert your key into that, and then upon doing so, you see the door starts to shut. You pull the key out, the door begins to slide open. You pull your key out before it's too late, before it gets pulled into the sliding door. But now you find an empty room. Okay, you find an empty room now, but inside this empty room, on both sides, there are 2 giant statues of stone statues of knights, having that traditional holding the sword in the chest, standing upright, looking like noble warriors of the past that may have protected some famous king, some famous queen, or were just protectors of the land. Now in this room, there's nothing else. It's just a big room. You see these stone statues. I'll show you. Now the reason I'm avoiding this center area is because there is a drawing there, but you're only going to be able to see it if you succeed the very next part. So here's one of the statues. right? So you see 4 pillars. You see 2 standing statues of soldiers from the past wearing intricate, smooth armor. Now I need you to make, I'm the DM, I want you to succeed, so I'm gonna make you do a investigation check. Okay, so you do an investigation check, it's an intelligence check, it's a DC 10. If you don't make this check, then the adventure ends here. Okay, there's no way you can figure out what's going on. You look at the statues, you walk around the room, there's no more traps. You look around, but there's nothing seems to be off. Okay, checking a few walls, nothing to see here. So your character leaves. Now make the investigation check and you succeed. You notice that the statues look like they're not completely set in place. Okay, so it looks like perhaps you can swivel them. Okay, and as you look around the room with that same investigation check, you notice that the north wall, so we're going to say that we're facing, this is, you know, the standard, up is north, down is south, left is west, right is east. As you're looking into the room, you look up at the north wall. You can see some intricate design on the wall. It has some weird jewel there, sort of maybe some weird crystals there. You can't really make of it because it's an ancient tome, and you know, just through weathering, water seeping through the top of the tome, through the ground, there is some wear and tear to the tome. It's not in perfect condition. You can't really make sense of it, but then you see that there. So upon seeing that you can swivel these statues, now you start actually messing with them, right? You kind of bear hug them, you start tugging them side to side, and as you're tugging them side to side, you notice that they only turn to the right, so they appear that you're facing the statue to the emblem you see in the north wall. And I want you to make a strength check. Now here's the kickers. These stones are really heavy. These statues are really heavy, and turning them is very difficult. So I need you to make a DC 10 strength check. If you fail, that means you don't have the power to turn these. Okay, so maybe you can go back and get a homie, get someone to come with you, and I will give you advantage. Okay, which means it's a D&D 5e mechanic, which means you roll 2 20s and you take the highest. Okay, because you're gonna have an assisted strength check essentially with somebody there. So if you're on your own, you don't pass your strength check, you don't pass the strength test, you're unable to move these statues, you have to leave again, go get somebody. Seriously, this is how the game's played. But if you pass your strength check, I'm going to allow you to turn this statue, face it towards the emblem on the north wall. Then you're going to go to the other side, turn that statue, face it towards the emblem of the wall. And as you do that, you hear a loud clicking sound. And you hear ting, 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 ting. And then from the center, it opens up and these crystals come out of the ground. Now you, if you're a wizard or an elf, someone who can detect magic, you can clearly see that these stones or these crystals are magical. They have, arcanum magic radiating from them. And as you get closer to these crystals, they don't cause you any harm. They're not hurting you. Okay? But if you want, I'll let you make a dexterity check. You can try to break a piece of the crystal off very gently. You've probably heard of arcanum, so how about you make an intelligence or some type of knowledge check? See if you know that these arcanum crystals are very unstable. And so you could attempt to break a piece off, make a dexterity check, and try to take a piece with you that maybe you can figure out a way to sell it in a market, have somebody grind it down to a powder where it can enhance, I would say, double the damage of any spell or double the effect, if you can get the dexterity to take it off. If you fail the dexterity, this thing explodes, okay? and you lose half your hit points. Yes, harsh, but up to this point, you might have, depending on the scenario, worst case scenario, and you made it this far, you should still have like 6 hit points. Half your hit points brings you down to 3. Okay. But if you're doing in a good shape, you still have 10 hit points. You can do the dexterity check if you want. Take the damage. Now the key is to, when I was telling you to do you want to do the dexterity check, you have to make the decision at that moment and just do it and risk it, because this thing is also worth 500 gold pieces. At the same time that this crystal came up, a staircase right below the north emblem, the stones begin to fall down, creating a cascading steps to the very next level. And that is where adventure stops for now. Until the next dungeon crawl in vivo. RPG Boons, I'm Don Franco 3. This is the Witching Hour. I did not see any ghosts or hear any weird noises today. I don't know if you did, if you saw something behind me. Thank you for stopping by. See you later.